Welcome to another episode of Finding Love. Today we're going to be diving into all of the things as it relates to dating a single parent. We're going to give you the step-by-step guide because guess what? You need to start right now if you think you're going to date them in the future.
Make me feel complete. It's OD, you got me, it's OD. Baby, you're all that I need. No one can be what you mean to me. Boy, I know you need this.
So we got both sides. I was the person dating a single parent and he was the single parent. And there were things that we both had to do in order to be prepared for this lifelong journey of co-parenting, okay? It does not start with marriage or when you have your own kids. It starts the day you decide that you want to have something real with this person.
And sometimes you gotta even know how to begin to see if somebody is qualified. So we've come up with a few questions that you may need to consider when even making the decision to decide if you wanna take a single parent seriously.
I feel like I even got to back it up even a little bit further because I had this notion that I wasn't dating nobody with no kids. I was like, they chewing on the wrong side of their mouth. They walking with two left feet. It was something wrong with them immediately. So I wanted to kind of have this conversation and just talk about being open because what's for you, what God has for you, what is meant for you to flourish in life, it's going to come with some stuff you thought you couldn't handle, but you got to be prepared.
So let's dive into it.
So when you're dating a single dad, there are some key questions that you need to ask. And they gonna seem simple, but baby, if you on that first date and you ain't at least touched on these questions, you are not intentionally dating, okay? Number one, how many kids do you have? How many? Not are you a father, okay? Is it 10, 12, 13 Cam Newton? Okay, and how many baby mamas? How many people am I about to have to deal with in this relationship? Another question is, do you live by yourself? Is the kid living with you? Is the kid and the mama living with you? Do you live with your mama? We need to know. And then we want to go into why did the relationship with any of your children's mothers end? Was this a one-night stand? Was this a long relationship that, was tumultuous the entire time and the baby came when you already were on the brakes? What was it? And then here, this is where the key is. Are you in a relationship? Ladies, we know how to look for that ring finger, but sometimes we don't wear it. Maybe we went to go hoop. Maybe I went to go play golf and we didn't wear our ring. Are you in a relationship? And then the good follow-up and a very necessary follow-up is, would anybody else think that they're in a relationship with you? Because, you checked out. But is there someone that if they came up on us right now, I would be at this boy ducking if I buck? I just want to know.
And I think when the ladies need to ask those questions, they're just trying to find out the truth. They're trying to get a little bit of transparency into the reality of your life, my brother. But when we want to ask the women the questions, we have to make sure we're tapping in with their emotion. And that's why the questions for the man that has a child is different than the questions for a woman with a child. And so the first thing you want to ask, and none of this has to be in a serious setting and even with a serious tone, but we have to figure out the answers here. So with every question that you ask her, you want to be very intentional in paying attention to her body language and her tone. So the first question you're going to want to ask is, so why are you and your child's father not together anymore? The next question you want to ask is, would you ever consider going back to him if he made that correction? But what you're doing with those two questions is you're also seeing if she's taking any accountability in the matter, and you're also watching for her body language and her tone to see if she has a rise in her emotion. Because typically if there's a rise in her emotion, there's still some connection back there.
Yeah.
And the final question is this. If he walked in and saw us on a date right now, what would happen? And what you want to listen for is, what do you think she would do But secondly, what would her reaction be to what he would do? So those are the key questions that you want to ask to see if she's available and emotionally available to even date and move on from that last relationship.
Those are good because as women, I believe after having children, one of the things that I saw was the connection that you have with that baby is also a super growing connection of who helped you create that child. And I know that we planned our children and we were married and all of that, but I know that if it was a one night stand, I would still have had some of those same feelings of I'm growing this human who I already love before I get to see them because of the deposit that this guy made into me. So that connection, that just innate level of love that comes out of bearing a child is deep. It's deep. And I never could understand how a woman could be so emotional over a man that they were never really with, or who had never fully committed to them, or that had never planned on having children with them until I was pregnant. And I said, oh, okay, I get it. I see. She was romanticizing the life that before it was even born, what it would be like, who he would look like, all of that. And so because of that, a woman's connection with the father of her children is deep.
And I think it's important to also note that if you looked at the questions for the man with the child, it's very different from the questions with the woman with the child, because I think, and what we have studied, is that women that typically have a child are emotionally involved. Sometimes it's in some level of a relationship, or at least they believe that to be the case. For a man, sometimes he was just messing around, playing around, and oops, now a child is here. And sometimes he finds himself in a relationship after that, but I think it's important to find out the real source of their relationship and then what has transpired since then.
I also think that women can be a little bit more open and honest when you ask them if they're in a relationship. If I'm in a relationship, I'm committed. And I'm probably not even on this date with you. And I'm very clear in being able to say, no, I am not in a relationship. However, you fellas are like, well, let me see how deep this gonna be. Yeah. Like, why do I have to be as completely transparent and vulnerable with you about my situationship when I don't even know what this is? So asking them, is it somebody else that think they're in a relationship with you, is going to get you to the bottom of, is this a half-truth? Or omission? Or are you really truly dating somebody who is fully available to go to the next level with you?
But being totally honest, I would go back to looking at the woman who's on a date, who's not in a relationship, does not mean that her baby daddy does not still have his hooks in her and still cannot pull those strings. And whenever he's available, or whenever he sends a call or a text, she becomes instantly available. So that's why it's important to ask those questions and see where her emotion is in relation to that past relationship.
And it just made me think of a funny story. So one of the women in my life is dating someone, and another guy popped up. And that was her moment to prioritize who get what in this situation. And I said, I would have been like, thank you, DoorDash. Because, sir, I'm on to some new stuff right now. You know what I'm saying? And you have nothing to do with what's going on right here. However, if, you know, there's no feelings involved and you are completely over that person and you are fully ready to move on and you have expressed that deeply to them, you introduce them.
Yeah.
Hey, we were just talking about my child's father. This is him. This is this new guy I'm dating. If we go somewhere, I'm going to introduce y'all further because we're going to be talking about the children. But really taking a hit and looking at, like you said, how she's going to react. Will she say, ooh, I had to run out of here?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to say, I don't know you, and it's going to be okay. We'll reconvene after. Or will she say, he'll probably flip this table over? Mm-hmm. It's telling you a lot. It's telling you everything you need to know about their connection and how much of a lingering presence does he still have.
And guess what? That was even before we made the decision on if we wanted to actually pursue a relationship in dating. So we can figure out a lot. And for the women, they can keep those receipts because with all of those questions, he could say, well, technically I wasn't with her at the time, but we were still living together. Mm-hmm. So she has her receipts. We're able to check her tone. And so now, if everything checks out appropriately, now we can move forward into what's next, the vetting process.
Yeah. I really think that that's the part that people miss. Mm-hmm. Is even seeing if this is a viable option to be intentional with.
Yeah.
A lot of times that first date could have been a very, very friendly, beautiful experience of what I'm not about to go down the road with. But you don't ask the questions. That first day, you're representative there. You're just trying to have a good time. Maybe you haven't been on a date in a while and you just want to enjoy this person. But they were so cool. And now you want to see them again, but you ain't asked no questions. So asking those questions leading into the intentional dating and going through this vetting process is something that I'm urging everyone to go through, regardless if they have children involved or not.
And so now that we're in the vetting process, what's very clear for any single parent that's intentional about dating, they do not have the time to casually date.
Yeah.
Casual dating is a distraction for a single parent. And quite frankly, the first thing we got to tap into is time. Mm-hmm. Time is limited for a single parent. So when you begin your dating process, typically, whether it's in high school and college or afterwards, you're dating somebody single as well. So you guys can find yourself dating every day, dating several times a week, talking all the time. Things become different. Much more different with a single parent. Sometimes you can only date them maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, because things revolve around their grown-up schedule of prioritizing their time with their kids, which they may have scheduled or not scheduled. They may have them all the time, and their job. And so when you have to consider that the time it takes to pursue a relationship with a single parent, we do not have time for casual dating. But what we also don't have is time to waste.
Yeah. And for the person that does not have the child, you have to be super intentional about making sure that your needs are met. Because if you could only date once a week, right, and you know you're needy, you need to make sure that you're communicating that, okay, I know you're with your child. I want you to have that time. It actually is very sexy to me that you take care of your kid and prioritize your child. But I'm going to need you to shoot me a couple texts throughout the day. I'm going to need a few FaceTime dates. You know, even if it's we're both eating dinner separately, I'm going to need you to chop it up with me. You know, and just making sure that you have the level of emotional intelligence to be able to communicate what you need to do in order to see if you really want to take this to the next level. That's a part of something that you got to do on your own personally. And it's a clear reflection of how self-aware you are. And it's unlike any other type of dating. If you're going to go into that person's life knowing that they don't have time to casual date, you have to make sure that you are setting your intentions right then to not casual date them as well.
And a lot of the time, when you even made this decision to pursue a relationship here and to see if there's potential, it's because you believe they are so much worth it to even try and build something from the very beginning. A lot of people say, they have a kid, I'm good. I don't even want nothing that comes with that. So if you made that decision, then you're telling yourself, and you realize from your history that this person is worth it. And because of that, as you intentionally date here and have this limited time, you both have to exercise grace and patience with each other while you're trying to navigate, can we fit?
Yeah. I also think that goes back to seeing if they have a schedule, right? And seeing if they even have their child. Because if I asked you on that first date how many kids you had, you said 3, and you ain't mentioned a child since. We have been on 100 dates straight. I got some serious questions. Right. Do you want to be with the type of person who does not prioritize time spent with their child or children? It should be no. But if you already know that, you're already going into this thing, at least thinking that this person is going to not have as much flexibility as you. I remember, feeling a little selfish even at times because I would want to go on a double date or maybe even take a trip, but it was on the time that he had his kid. And at the time when we're just dating, it was a lot of, is this worth it? Because I want to go on a date right now. And I don't got nothing else to do, and continuously thinking about, is this worth it? It makes you evaluate heavily their character. And their character are the things that will not change no matter what. It will not change with money. It will not change with age. It is who they are as a person, as a human. And to see him as a very nurturing and intentional and present father, it was actually a turn on more than I ever thought could even be possible. So making sure that even though this might switch up how you typically date, and it might be against, your spoiled girl era, right? It is going to give you so much key insight to who this person is and how they would fit in your life long term.
And that character evaluation is key because in this space, you need to have no doubt about anything you're getting into. So it's fair to ask the questions, be intentional, but also, like Wifey said, evaluate character. Yeah. And you got to listen to their story. You got to listen to their history as they tell you. But also as you engage and you come around their groups, their friend groups, their family, not the kids yet. We're going to get there in a moment. And see how they treat them, see how they are treated, see how all of those people speak about them. You're building an analysis of, okay, they said this, it lines up with all of this, and it lines up with how we interact and how he or she treats me. It is worth everything that I think it is worth, but let's keep pursuing.
And you said something key, because a lot of times you guys are meeting the kid before you meet any friends, family, co-workers, and that's insane. Okay? If you know that your first or second or even 10th date, they brought their little wham with them, and you still ain't met nobody else in the family, I'm going to just ask, I got some more questions. How many people has this child met? Okay? Because is this going to be something that you're super intentional about? Are you protecting this child the way I would want my future children to be protected? Or are you just like, oh, little man with me today. I'm going to pull up. Let's all eat as a family. Yeah. And it's the third date. That is a little creepy and scary and will turn the right person off. But a good man or a good woman who is handling their business, has this child that maybe they made out of love and really are doing everything they can to be the best co-parent with that child's mother or father, they're going to show you things and reveal things to you that you didn't even know was a part of the process. And one of those things is protecting their child. Them protecting their child and not letting you meet their child just because we kind of got a connection a little bit is something you could take to the bank. They're going to protect you like that. They're going to protect your relationship and how they cultivate your relationship with a level of care. They are going to be someone who is very protective in their family and they believe in family and they love family, right? That is very different from the person that's like, look, I've been single too long and I'm about to let little man mess this up for me. So he about to roll out with me. It's very different types of single parents.
And there's no rule book or guide to this stuff of somebody that has a kid and you're dating somebody with a kid. It becomes a little bit murky and difficult to discern because as a man, typically we want to lead. We want to lead you in every facet of your life. And as we're dating each other, we want to show you that we can lead you. Mm-hmm. But what becomes different is that if the man wants to take on the responsibility of dating a single mom, he has to defer to her parenting and to defer to her as she makes decisions about her child. But he can become an advisor. And that's where it begins. And keep in mind, we are talking about the dating stage, okay? We will get to the next stages. But in the dating stage, a man has to exercise deference, which is not normal, and patience. But he has to become available because she will, if she's grown that trust with him, seek advisement for decision making. And that scenario is different than when it's a single father, because typically a single father, he's got a structure, he has his organization, and even if he needs some help, he probably won't seek it because he wants to show leadership. He wants to show that he can lead his child and him, and he wants to show you that if he brings you with him, he can lead all three of you.
Yeah, and here's the thing with leadership, guys. A good man and a good leader is going to advise and going to be in an advisory position at all times. They're going to listen at all times and be able to discern, right? And that single mother is telling you that, dang, he only get them every other weekend, and this is his weekend. So, boom, there you go. All right, well, you know what? As soon as you drop them off to school on Friday, let's go out to breakfast. On Saturday, if you don't have anything going on, be ready at 7. That's a leader. That's a guy that's being intentional about making sure that they are utilizing the space that they're given. You got your kid all the time. And anybody who wants a real relationship, you don't want to have the person that never got their kid.
That's right.
So this woman, this single mother, she got her kid all the time. She's making decisions all the time. She's caring for someone all the time. The moment she tells you that she got some free time, make it happen.
Yeah.
Make it happen. Do something for her. Buy her some flowers. Set the date. Don't ask any questions. Just tell her to be ready. Okay? And then if you are the father who is the single parent, and you're out here dating, you have to be a leader in knowing that just because you're setting the tone and making all of the decisions doesn't mean you don't have to communicate that. Right. And it is very effective as a leader to make sure your constituents in any leadership role are aware of why you are moving the way that you are. So what's the vision for us?
And a single parent trying to date is no small feat. It is not easy being a single dad. But in a lot of scenarios, in most cases, a single dad has a co-parent and a mother that has split time or has shared time, or they have some level of support. And so they're able to navigate taking their child maybe to their parents' house or to the mother's house for their shared time and find time to pursue a relationship. But in a lot of scenarios of a single mother, I often see that they have no support, that it is just them. And so if they're taking the time out of their day to schedule for a babysitter, instead of having a girls' night, or instead of sleeping and getting some rest, take an evening to coordinate their child, coordinate homework, coordinate bedtime for a babysitter, just to step out to go on a date with you, you have to appreciate everything that was done that you didn't even see that she did.
Yeah. So that leads to, when do you think you should introduce your child?
That's the question that we get all the time in our DMs, emails. And I think it's two things you have to look at. There are potential conflict and challenges that can come before introducing a child, and potential conflict and challenges that come after introducing a child. But you have to face the first two. And some of those can be the co-parenting relationship of your partner and the other co-parent. To be able to navigate it after you guys begin dating and having intentional questions and trying to make plans, you have to be able to see what's coming from the other side. can you help your partner navigate it? Can you guys stay on the same team? Or, like so many other co-parents do, and I'm not saying it for every co-parent, they try to blow up what you have and what you're building. Can you guys sustain? Can you guys come together?
That just led me to also to the person that doesn't have the child. You have to be aware that whatever they said their relationship is with that co-parent, that's what it was.
That's right.
Okay, that's what it was before you showed your little pretty tail self up. Okay, and it's something about making sure that you understand, especially as a woman, right? I understand more as a mother, but I couldn't understand. So a lot of our trials and tribulations and trying to navigate what was going on between him and the other co-parent it was scary to me. It was something that I just didn't want in my life. And I think that if someone had just pulled me to the side and said, listen, focus on you, focus on y'all, and focus on the child, right? And that's the advice I want to give to you. If they had told me that, I would have been a little bit more prepared to be like, okay, you can't hate someone who loves your child. You can't hate someone who's building a relationship with your child that is not going against building up the relationship that you have with that child too, right? So I was always very clear and focused and intentional about making sure that our child knew that he needed his mom, his dad, and I was a bonus.
That's right.
Making sure that we had a relationship together outside of me and his dad, him and his mom. And I was also very intentional about making sure that I wasn't overstepping anywhere. I was just there as a liaison if he needed to communicate something to his parents. And I was also there just to love on him, right? I didn't come in with any other intention. So when you go to talking about, seeing how that relationship is, or even asking a question about how that relationship is, know that things can change. Yeah. And being open and aware of those changes and knowing what your role is not to check them. It's not to try to make them understand how good of a man this father is. No, that's not your role. Your role is to love on this man, love on this child, stay in your lane.
But when conflict arises from that other co-parent, can you guys sustain, come together, and keep moving forward? And so when you see that you guys can, you've been through limited time, you've been through family and friends and the character evaluation, and you've been through some conflict outside of the normal dating conflict, you've been through some single parenting dating conflict, then it's time to discuss or answer the question, when can my partner meet my child?
So it's three people to really consider before making that decision. And it can't be one without the other, I don't think. Are you ready? And I think that you had to think a lot about that, right? Just preparing yourself for your child meeting the first person you ever dated, right? Is your partner ready? I was more than ready by that time because I knew we was going to be together. So I needed to know my child, right. Period. But had it been a little earlier, I might not have been ready. I was kind of really enjoying just having him to myself and not having to think about, making sure this restaurant I got something that my baby go eat. That's right. And then you also, and probably most sensitively, need to consider that child. We've seen it so often with kids of divorced parents, right? Kids naturally want to see their parents together. Unless one of them just trash. One of them knocking the other one head off their shoulders or something. Kids want to see both their parents together. So the separation alone, already living in two households alone, can have its emotional and psychological damages on your child. Introducing somebody too soon before they understand that there is no getting back with mom and dad can also have irreversible effects. One of the biggest decisions that you will make with that single parent is about when to introduce you to that child. Because in order for this thing to be successful and for you guys to flourish in love as a family, that other person has to consider this child their child. That's my son too. Okay? He got a mama, but that's my son too. And that goes for family vacations. Are you picking all of your family vacations on days that that other child isn't there? Big no no. That goes for how we eat dinner. Are you thinking about what everybody eats, or are you not considering his dietary restrictions? You know, every little piece of being involved in that child has to come from a place of love and nurturing and parenthood. So the decision to meet each other has to be a joint one. You can't just spring it up on that single person, and you definitely don't want to do it without intentionality that that child will now become theirs as well.
And one thing I did notice before I even made the decision to introduce Jenni to Cam was that I knew she would be an amazing bonus mom. And that's exactly what it is. She would become my son's bonus mom. And that's what I understood. Nothing like, oh, that's your kid. I'm going to let you handle all of that. Because that just doesn't work if you guys are looking to build a foundation and grow a family together. Because you're making the plans together to become one. And if that's my son or if that's your daughter, then guess what? Our family is a unit and you become an additional parent. So making sure that when you make the decision to introduce your partner, you make the decision that this is a long-term commitment of introducing your child to their next potential parent.
I think it's time to toast. So this wouldn't be called finding love if we were not trying to build the rapport and the intentionality and just the perspective of what it will take in order to truly find love and be great in it. And one of the things that we talked about today was that I was ready to be with no single daddy, okay? But it was something that was above me. God has a plan for you. You know what you want. You know what you need. Do not allow one little line item on your checklist to steer you away from finding love. So I just want to toast to you finding love, being intentional about co-parenting, and truly building families. Cheers.
We are finally here at season 2, and we could not have done it without any of you.
We're talking all stages of relationships, from dating to courting to marriage to reaching that forever status.
We are bringing all the true stories to the forefront, and guess what? This year, we're coming back bigger, better, and stronger, and it's all because of all of you.
So stay tuned for what we're going to do next. We are on all platforms at I Am Finding Love, and be sure to subscribe to our website at IamFindingLove.com.
And do not forget, tune in each and every Friday as you keep asking us questions and we keep delivering the answers.
Baby, you're all that I need. No, I can be what you mean to me. Make me feel complete. It's so deep.